The Anderson family's monthly dinner was in full swing at Maison, their favorite five-star French restaurant in downtown Manhattan. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over the mahogany table where my family gathered, dressed in their usual designer labels. Mom wore her signature Chanel suit, Dad his custom Tom Ford, and my sister Vanessa sparkled in Valentino. I'd chosen a simple black blazer over a white silk shirt, earning disapproving glances from everyone except our elderly waitress. Still playing with computers? Dad's voice carried that special blend of disappointment and mockery he'd perfected over the years. He adjusted his Rolex as he spoke, making sure everyone noticed the $50,000 timepiece. I thought you'd have grown out of that phase by now, Alexandra. The coding work pays the bills, I replied calmly, cutting into my perfectly cooked Wagyu beef. My phone buzzed silently in my pocket. Another notification from my executive team about tomorrow's announcement. Bills. Vanessa laughed, the sound sharp and dismissive. You mean your tiny studio apartment's rent? The one in that awful neighborhood. He turned to our parents. Did you know she still takes the subway? Mom set down her champagne flute with a delicate clink. Darling, you're 32 now. Vanessa was already a senior partner at her law firm by your age. And look at your brother Michael, youngest VP at Goldman Sachs. I checked my phone discreetly. The stock valuation had just come in. My heart raced, but I kept my expression neutral. My work is going well, actually. I have some interesting projects. Projects? Dad interrupted, waving his hand dismissively. Your sister handles million-dollar cases. Your brother manages billion-dollar portfolios. And you sit in your little room coding all day. What do you even code? Apps that no one uses. The waitress approached with more wine, and I noticed how my family barely acknowledged her existence. My brother Michael arrived late, his Goldman Sachs badge still hanging from his neck like a trophy. Sorry I'm late, huge deal closing tomorrow. Some tech company's IPO. He kissed Mom's cheek before turning to me with a smirk. Hey little sis. Still trying to be the next Steve Jobs. Something like that, I murmured, my phone buzzing again. The final contracts were ready for tomorrow's announcement. 4 years of secret work, leading a team of 200 brilliant developers, creating an AI system that would revolutionize global finance. All hidden behind the facade of a struggling coder. I just wish you'd take life seriously, Mom sighed. We gave you the same opportunities as your siblings. The best schools, all the right connections. And what do? Waste it all on computers. I smiled slightly, remembering the Forbes photoshoot last week. Tomorrow's cover story was already at the printer. Alexandra Sullivan, the secret billionaire revolutionizing AI. My company Quantum Dynamics had just been valued at $4.2 billion. And in less than 12 hours, my family would learn that their computer girl owned the system that would power every major bank, including my brother's precious Goldman Sachs. Alexandra, Dad said sharply, are you even listening? We're talking about your future here. Oh, I am listening. I checked my watch, a subtle Patek Philippe that cost more than Vanessa's car. And speaking of the future, I glanced at the restaurant's TV screen just as it flickered to life with breaking news. The timing was perfect. Just as my father lifted his coffee cup to his lips, the news anchor's voice filled the room. Breaking news. Tech's youngest billionaire Sue. The restaurant fell silent as my father's coffee cup crashed onto his pristine white shirt. On the TV screen, my professional headshot appeared next to the headline. Quantum Dynamics CEO Alexandra Sullivan revolutionizes banking with groundbreaking AI. Quantum, what? Michael stuttered, his Goldman Sachs badge suddenly looking rather insignificant. The anchor continued. In a shocking announcement, previously unknown tech company Quantum Dynamics has been valued at $4.2 billion ahead of tomorrow's IPO. The company's 32-year-old founder and CEO, Alexandra Sullivan, has developed an AI system that's already been secretly adopted by the world's leading financial institutions. That's impossible, Vanessa whispered, her perfectly manicured hands shaking as she reached for her phone, likely already Googling my name. Mom's face had gone pale, her champagne forgotten. Alexandra, what is this? I took a slow sip of water, enjoying the moment I'd waited 4 years for. Remember that little coding project I was working on? Turns out Goldman Sachs thought it was worth implementing across their entire global network. Isn't that right, Michael? Michael's face drained of color as recognition dawned. Project Quantum. That was you? But that's the system we've been using for the past 6 months. The one that increased our trading efficiency by 300%. The very same, I confirmed, finally allowing myself a small smile. Though Goldman wasn't first. JP Morgan signed on 8 months ago, followed by Deutsche Bank, HSBC and 13 others. Dad's hands were trembling as he tried to dab at his coffee-stained shirt. The TV continued its coverage, now showing footage of my company's sleek headquarters, the awful neighborhood, where I supposedly rented a tiny apartment. The building was actually mine, all 40 floors of it. But you live in that studio apartment, Vanessa protested weakly. Actually, I own the building. The studio apartment is just my private office. I live in the penthouse. I reached into my simple black blazer and pulled out a business card, matte black with raised silver lettering. Quantum Dynamics. We've been operating in stealth mode while testing our AI system with major banks worldwide. The anchor's voice continued. Sources say Sullivan's AI technology has already processed over $4 trillion in transactions, with a perfect accuracy rate. The system's neural network. 4 trillion. Dad's voice cracked. Give or take a few billion, I shrugged. Tomorrow's IPO is just a formality. We're already profitable with contracts worth $8.3 billion signed for the next 5 years. Michael slumped in his chair. That's why the board was so excited about Project Quantum. They said it would change everything. I had no idea. Of course you didn't, I said calmly. None of you ever actually asked what I was working on. You were too busy mocking my computer phase. Mom's hand flew to her throat, fingering her pearls nervously. But darling, why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed me? I pulled out my phone, showing them the Forbes article that would go live at midnight. Besides, I learned something valuable watching you all these years. The power of underestimation. The restaurant had erupted into whispers, with other diners pointing at our table. The elderly waitress approached with a warm smile. Miss Sullivan, the owner, would like to offer his congratulations. Your usual table will always be available. Thank you, Maria. I handed her an envelope. Here's that college fund I promised for your granddaughter. Yale's waiting list won't be a problem anymore. As Maria's eyes welled up with tears of joy, my family stared in shock. The TV was now showing clips of my humanitarian work. The coding schools I'd opened in underprivileged areas, the tech scholarships, the innovation centers. Now, I said, standing up and straightening my blazer, if you'll excuse me, I have a rather important day tomorrow. The stock market waits for no one. But before I could leave, my father grabbed my arm, his voice barely a whisper. Alexandra, we. The breaking news chime sounded again, and all heads turned to the TV screen as my story's second bombshell dropped. The TV anchor's voice cut through the tension. Breaking update. Quantum Dynamics AI system has just been selected by the Federal Reserve for nationwide implementation. This marks the first time an artificial intelligence system will be integrated into the U.S. central banking system. My phone erupted with notifications. The Federal Reserve announcement wasn't supposed to come until next week, but apparently they'd moved up their timeline. My company's valuation would likely double by morning. The Federal Reserve? Dad's grip on my arm loosened as he sank back into his chair. My God. Michael was frantically scrolling through his phone. This explains the emergency board meeting tomorrow morning. They're making your system mandatory for all U.S. financial institutions. Which means, I said, unable to resist this final twist of the knife, that Vanessa's law firm will need to adopt it too. After all, you handle those million-dollar cases, don't you, sis? Vanessa's perfect makeup couldn't hide her reddening face. I don't understand. How did you build a multi-billion-dollar company right under your noses? I finished for her. It's amazing what you can accomplish when nobody's watching. When they think you're just the family disappointment wasting time with computers. The restaurant's owner appeared at our table, champagne in hand. Miss Sullivan, please accept this Dom Perignon with our compliments. We're honored to have you here. Thank you, Pierre, but I'm afraid I need to go. Tomorrow's a big day. I turned to my family. I've arranged for the IPO documents to be delivered to each of you tonight. As family, You're entitled to buy shares at the initial offering price. If you're interested in wasting time with computers, that is. Mom finally found her voice. Alexandra, please, stay. We should talk about this as a family. I checked my watch again. The same watch Dad had sneered at earlier, not recognizing the subtle sophistication of a $500,000 timepiece. I have a video conference with Tokyo in an hour. But I'll tell you what, why don't you all come to the office tomorrow? I'll have my assistant send you visitors' passes. You can watch the IPO launch from our command center. Your command center? Michael asked weakly. Top floor of Quantum Tower. The view of Manhattan is quite spectacular. I picked up my simple black purse, custom Hermes, though they'd never noticed. Oh, and Dad, you might want to change that shirt. Coffee stains don't photograph well, and there will be a lot of cameras tomorrow. As I walked toward the exit, heads turned and whispers followed. I stopped at Maria's station one last time. Make sure they pay the bill, Maria. Even billionaires shouldn't dine and dash. The last thing I heard as I left was the TV anchor's voice. In related news, Quantum Dynamics' revolutionary AI has just been nominated for the Nobel Prize in Economics, making Alexandra Sullivan potentially the youngest nominee in. The restaurant door closed behind me, cutting off the sound. My driver held open the car door as I stepped into the cool Manhattan night. Tomorrow would change everything, but tonight I had finally settled a 4-year-old score. My phone buzzed with a message from my C2. Ready for tomorrow, boss? I typed back a quick response. More than ready. Time to show them what the computer girl can really do. The car pulled away from the curb, leaving behind a family whose world had just been turned upside down by the daughter they'd underestimated for so long. The next morning, Quantum Tower gleamed in the early sunlight, its 40 stories of glass and steel dominating the Manhattan skyline. News vans lined the street, and a crowd of reporters had gathered at the entrance. My private elevator whisked me to the command center on the top floor, where my team was already preparing for the IPO launch. Morning, boss, Sarah, my CEO, greeted me. She'd been with me since the beginning, one of the few who'd seen my vision. Your family just arrived. They're in the reception area looking overwhelmed. I smiled, adjusting my crimson Armani suit. Today's outfit was a far cry from yesterday's intentionally understated ensemble. Let them wait a few minutes. How are our numbers looking? Pre-market trading is insane. We're already trending 200% above the IPO price. She gestured to the wall of screens showing global market data. The Federal Reserve announcement caused a feeding frenzy. Every major financial institution is scrambling to get in early. At precisely 8:30 a.m., I had my assistant bring in my family. They entered the command center like tourists in a foreign land, gaping at the sophisticated technology surrounding them. Gone was their usual aristocratic confidence, replaced by wide-eyed uncertainty. Alexandra, Mom started, her voice smaller than I'd ever heard it. This is incredible. Welcome to Quantum Dynamics, I said, gesturing to the panoramic view of Manhattan. Rather different from my little coding project, isn't it? Michael couldn't tear his eyes from the trading screens. These numbers, they're astronomical. The market cap projection is larger than Goldman's. That's just the beginning, Sarah interjected, shooting me a knowing look. Wait until they hear about Project Oracle. Dad's head snapped up. Project Oracle? I checked the time, 8:45 a.m. You might want to watch this. I nodded to Sarah, who activated the main screen. The CEO of the New York Stock Exchange appeared on screen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're minutes away from a historic moment in financial history. Quantum Dynamics IPO will mark the first time an AI-driven company has been launched with simultaneous integration across all major global exchanges. Vanessa clutched her designer handbag tightly. Simultaneous global integration? But that's never been done before. Many things have never been done before, I replied, watching the countdown timer. That's what happens when you let the computer girl think big. At exactly 9 a.m. the opening bell rang. The command center erupted in controlled chaos as Quantum's stock symbol went live across every major exchange worldwide. The numbers started climbing immediately. $200, $300, $400 per share, Michael read aloud, his voice cracking. This is impossible. Actually, Sarah said, pulling up another screen, This is just phase 1. Alexandra, should we show them Project Oracle now? I nodded, and with a few keystrokes, Sarah revealed our next breakthrough. On the screens, a new AI interface materialized, one that made our banking system look primitive by comparison. What is this? Dad whispered. The future, I answered, watching my family's reactions carefully. Project Oracle is an AI system that can predict market movements with 99.9% accuracy. The banking system you've all been so impressed by? That was just the foundation. This is what we've really been building. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. My brother, the investment banker, was the first to understand. You're not just changing banking, he said slowly. You're changing the entire global financial system. Now you're getting it, I smiled. The Federal Reserve didn't just choose our system because it was efficient. They chose it because Project Oracle showed them something they couldn't ignore, a way to prevent another global financial crisis. Mom sank into a nearby chair. My God, Alexandra, do you know what this means? It means, I said, turning to face my family fully, that your computer girl just became the most powerful person in global finance. The screens behind me continued their dance of numbers and data, each tick representing billions in value being created. But the real satisfaction came from watching my family's faces as they finally understood the magnitude of what their dismissed daughter had achieved. The irony, I continued, is that your dismissal made all this possible. While you were focused on maintaining appearances, I was building something that would change the world. While you mocked my little coding project, I was revolutionizing global finance. The stock price had stabilized at $850 per share, making quantum dynamics worth over $10 billion. My phone was flooded with congratulatory messages from world leaders, CEOs, and financial ministers. I had my assistant place some shares in each of your accounts last night, I said casually. Consider it a thank you for underestimating me all these years. Sometimes the best motivation comes from proving people wrong. As my family stood there processing their new reality, I turned to Sarah. Shall we show them the Hong Kong office? The wall of screens switched to a live feed of our Asian headquarters, where another team of brilliant minds was preparing to transform their part of the world. This is just the beginning, I announced, not just to my family but to my entire team. Welcome to the future. Welcome to quantum dynamics. The sun rose higher over Manhattan, casting long shadows through the command center's windows. In those shadows, I saw the ghosts of every dismissive comment, every mockery, every doubtful glance dissolve into nothing. The computer girl had done more than prove them wrong. She had changed the world. And this was only day 1.